This Marketplace podcast is supported by OutSystems, the application platform that enables every company to innovate through software. OutSystems accelerates the development of business-critical cloud applications. Build the difference with OutSystems. For more information, visit outsystems.com/action. This Marketplace podcast is supported by Wise, the smartest way to move money around the world. Playing hide-and-seek is fun, but not when it comes to exchange rates. With the Wise account, you'll always see the real exchange rate when you send, spend, and receive money between 80 countries. Try Wise for free at wise.com/marketplace.
The doors to Europe might be cracking open. From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore in for David Brancaccio. Americans who have been fully vaccinated against COVID may soon be allowed to travel to the EU. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told the New York Times this should be possible since the vaccines approved in the U.S. are also approved in Europe. And many more European countries are easing their restrictions as vaccine rollouts ramp up. The BBC's Europe correspondent Nick Beake reports.
In the country that was the first to declare a national lockdown last year, today's relaxing of some rules is widely welcomed. The vast majority of the Italian population will be able to return to local restaurants for outdoor lunch and dinner. But the terraces and piazzas won't be bustling with tourists, as arrivals to the country still need to quarantine. A nationwide overnight curfew also remains in place. In France, nursery and primary school pupils are going back to lessons after 3 weeks away, with secondary-age students returning next week. The loosening of restrictions reflect a dip in new COVID cases across the EU.
That was Nick Beake with our editorial partner, the BBC. The Food and Drug Administration holds a rare session this week to reevaluate 3 drugs which are considered blockbusters for the treatment of some forms of skin and lung cancers. But the FDA wants to know whether doctors should stop prescribing them for certain other illnesses. Marketplace's Nova Safo has more.
The drugs in question are Merck's Keytruda, Roche's Tecentriq, and Opdivo, made by Bristol-Myers Squibb. These immunotherapy drugs have received expedited approvals, several dozen of them, based on early signs of efficacy on a host of illnesses. The quick approvals were meant to help critically ill patients. But in a 3-day meeting starting tomorrow, the FDA will take the rare step of reevaluating 6 of those approvals, such as use against a certain type of breast cancer and a type of gastric tumor. The agency will hear from a panel of experts and from the drug makers on the question of whether the drugs are extending life in patients with these illnesses. The U.S. spends $60 billion on cancer drugs annually. Health experts say there is a glut of expensive and unproven medications on the market. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. The FTSE in London is down less than 0.1%. Dow futures up less than 0.1%, just 8 points. S&P and NASDAQ futures are down in the 1 to 0.3% range. And the 10-year Treasury yield is at 1.588%. Vaccine distribution and the Biden administration's rescue aid policies have improved the outlook for the economy in the coming year. That's the view of a growing majority, 2/3, of business economists surveyed by the National Association for Business Economics. Economists are getting increasingly optimistic. About 1/3 say they thought GDP would grow at least 6% over the next year. Very few said that back in January.
This Marketplace podcast is supported by Personal Capital, who can help you take control of your finances no matter where you are. Download the Personal Capital app or start today at personalcapital.com to get free professional-grade financial tools, including a retirement planner and fee analyzer. Want to talk? Personal Capital has registered advisors by phone or online for qualified users. Personal Capital. There's no place like financial confidence.
A lot of businesses were deeply affected by those crazy winter storms they had in Texas back in February. And a major one was tree growers. The deep freeze killed so many plants across the state. There's a lot of demand, but tree growers' trees froze too. So there aren't enough trees to replace the ones that died in people's yards. Marketplace's Andy Euler reports this supply shortage is going to be felt for years.
Simmons Oak Farms sits on about 120 acres just outside of Harlingen on the Texas-Mexico border. It's where I meet up with Audrey Hooks. She and her mom run the family operation. We walk through fields of trees and plants of all sizes. They got agave in 1-gallon pots in the nursery, huge yucca and live oaks in a field next door, and rows of palm trees.
So this is a queen palm. You can see the green coming out the center. That's how you know they're still alive. But we're not going to market this because we want another head to grow so we can cut off all the brown and it looks good.
Basic quality control. But her customers don't want to hear that.
We have people calling every day asking for these because they died in their yard and they just want to replace with what they had before.
People like Robert Burke. He runs Mission Landscape Supplies in San Antonio. He buys a lot of plants from Hooks, but he's not calling about replacing the tree outside his house. He's a wholesaler.
Almost like a distribution center, kind of like a large commercial operation where we bring it in and sell it.
He says these last couple of months have been unreal because right now everyone, homeowners, city parks, schools, businesses, everyone needs plants and trees.
I mean, we're busier now than we've ever been ever. But at the same time, we struggle to find material. I mean, we bring it in and it goes out the door.
Amy Graham is president and CEO of the Texas Nursery and Landscape Association. She says her industry is tied directly to the housing market, and the housing market in Texas was booming well before Winter Storm Uri.
Our growers were already increasing the total numbers that they were growing for this year anyway. But Storm Uri comes and it's just like, oh my goodness, here we go.
She says Texans that need trees for projects on a tight deadline are importing them from Florida, Georgia, and California, but trucking them in adds significant cost. And because trees take years to grow before she can sell them, Audrey Hooks at Simmons Oak Farms in Harlingen says for her business, the light at the end of the tunnel is a ways away.
When you have a freeze like this, that impacts every house in Texas, every business in Texas, and every grower in Texas. We're going to have a shortage for multiple years to come.
She's just hopeful her business will be able to weather the wait, and that demand for landscape trees is just as strong when inventory gets back to normal. I'm Andy Euler for Marketplace.
And I'm Sabri Ben-Achour with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
Hey, y'all. I'm Rima Jerez, host of the Marketplace podcast, This is Uncomfortable. It is a show about life and how money messes with it. This season, we've got stories about scams, literal ones, but we also look into how our society seems to be built in a way that can leave many of us feeling cheated. From a decade-long quest to unravel an identity theft to the get-rich-quick allure of multi-level marketing schemes. Be sure to check out our newest season of This is Uncomfortable wherever you get your podcasts.